So it's been a while since I've been back. January usually is a little bit of a dry spell when it comes to new releases and new music, and December and January have kind of been a little bit of a chaos mode, so trying to find extra time to sit down and record things have been a little tricky. So I wanted to come back in and start this new year with an interesting video, one that I've kind of been playing around in my mind and thinking about, and that is my hopes and I guess expectations and maybe concerns of the new Dream Theater record. This is dropping in less than 2 weeks, depending on when I upload this. We now have all 3 singles of the new album, Parasomnia, I believe is how you pronounce that. A little bit of context for anybody that's been living under a rock lately. This is their 16th studio album, and this is the first one with Mike Portnoy back on the drums. So there's a lot of expectations because of that. In my personal opinion, I felt like the Mangini records were kind of them treading water. Like, they're not bad albums outside of their self-titled album. That's the only one that I would recommend, say that it's bad. But I just felt like, A Distance Over Time and A View from the Top of the World, both of them were just like, you could take any of the songs from any of those albums, interchange them, and it wouldn't have made any difference. One of the big hopes that I have for Parasomnia is that there's this identity that's found on it that all the previous albums featuring Mike Portnoy had. Love or Hate, Falling into Infinity, Love or Hate, Octavarium, Love or Hate, When Dream and Day Unite. They all had that very unique feel of that album while still having the quintessential feeling of Dream Theater. The same can be said about Metropolis Part 2. The same can be said about Systematic Chaos. The same can be said about Train of Thought or 6 Degrees of Inner Turbulence. All these albums had that very distinctive identity that no other Dream Theater album had. And I feel like with Parasomnia, within the 3 singles that we've gotten, now that Midnight Messiah has dropped, along with A Broken Man and Night Terror, we're feeling, at least on my side, a little bit more of a gothic, dark feeling. Like, this feels like a continuation of where Black Clouds and Silver Linings left off. Like, it feels much like, there hasn't been a 10-year gap between those 2 records. It feels like there's been 2 or 3 years, It has that very well thought out progression of the music. It feels a little bit Train of Thought in terms of being a little bit raw, a little bit darker. But these are just the 3 tracks. They're just 3 tracks. So I'm already feeling, and this is where my hope is, that the rest of the album continues this identity. It has that darker landscape. It's got a little bit more of a gothic tinge to it. And I hope that they continue on with that. One of my big concerns that I have with this record, though, is that they are just treading more water. Now, luckily, I haven't heard that within these first 3 singles. Each one feels a little bit innovative. They feel new and fresh. But I also hope that the rest of the album isn't just carbon copies of what we're already hearing. I hope that they continue with the innovation. I hope that they continue with the creativity that's being found on there. And I want that to continue. So, yeah, I guess one of the main concerns that I have is that they continue the trend that Distance Over Time and A View from the Top of the World, and even the self-titled work has, which is, it doesn't have that innovation. It's just kind of treading water. And it's just kind of the copy paste that we have with the dueling guitars and keyboards of Jordan Rudess and John Petrucci. I think having Mike Portnoy in the mix has that innovation and has that kind of poking a little bit of being like, come on guys, let's do something new. Let's try something different. Another big concern that I have about this record is one of the things that I've noticed within the promotional style of that, and that is the use of AI within the actual music. We've already seen the AI. It's been criticized, and the jury's still out whether the actual main album artwork is AI generated. It kind of looks like it is, if I'm being perfectly honest. Now, I know that the band hired somebody to make it, so it's not necessarily like the band making the art and not hiring an artist, but they should actually take the artist to task and be like, hey, can we see some of your sketches? But proof of concept, and also just quality control. When artists can just, click a button and then get paid for it, that's ripping the artist off. That's ripping Dream Theater off in the same way that Dream Theater would be ripping off an artist if they superseded that and just went straight to the AI. But I think where I'm more concerned of is the use of AI in the actual music. And I know Jordan Rudess loves AI and has embraced it for the technology that it is. And I just hope that he hasn't undercut himself. And I think, at least I hope, we'll be able to tell that within the music. Like, this is kind of a experiment that I'm kind of excited about to see, is this something that I'm able to detect while listening to the record? So that's a concern that I have, and I hope Jordan Rudess won't be on in like 3 weeks or 4 weeks being like, hey guys, yeah, I used AI and here's how I did it. We'll see. The last concern that I have before I get into my last hope is that our hopes aren't too high about this record. The main thing drawing me to this record is it's Mike Portnoy back into the band. And everything that Mike Portnoy has touched within his departure from Dream Theater, with Neil Morse, with the Winery Dogs, with Liquid Tension Experiment, with all his other projects that he's done, because the man can't sit still, have always been exciting and have always been very interesting, intriguing, and I guess, yeah, exciting is the best word for it. And I hope he brings that into this, but I hope that that hope hasn't exceeded my expectations of what this album is actually going to be. So I think we as an audience might need to temper our expectations just slightly to realize, hey, this is a band that is, getting into their 40 years out now. So, let's temper our expectations. It can be done, and I've seen many great legacy bands like Yes, like Uriah Heep, like Deep Purple, come back with stellar and amazing albums, 50 years after their inceptions. But I do want to hope that, we temper our expectations for just a really good album. I'm not looking for a Scenes from a Memory Part 2. I'm not looking for a Octavarium Part 2. I'm just hoping for a good Dream Theater record. And I think that's how we should approach most new music. So that's my last big criticism, or I guess not criticism, but concern, is that we as an audience are bringing too much to this record, That's what kind of burned me with Distance Over Time and A View from the Top of the World. And I guess The Astonishing and the self-titled work is that, Dream Theater is coming back and it's going to be the best thing ever. Well, it might just be the goodest thing ever, My last hope, though, for this record is just that. I hope that it's a good record, Most of the promotional stuff that we've seen so far, outside of some of the music videos that we had for A Broken Man, let's pretend that didn't happen. Midnight Messiah, I've been grooving to quite often. I think it's the best single that they've released so far. And A Broken Man and Night Terror, like, these are very meaty, very Dream Theater, big Dream Theater tracks. So I'm just hoping for more of that, without it being a cut and paste. And I'm really looking forward to this record. And I hope it at least gets part of the way to my expectations. So those are my hopes. Those are my concerns and criticisms and worries about this record. What are some of your worries, criticisms, hopes, dreams, fears about this record? Let me know about that by commenting down below. I'm really excited for this year. We've already got a little bit of new music, and I'm really excited to talk about that in the next couple of weeks. This one is probably going to be the big first record, so I hope you guys will enjoy that. To keep us satisfied, I've got a couple lists. I got a couple worst to bests to talk about. So 2025 will start off with a little bit more of a bang. I know that January is a little bit behind us at this point, but I'm hoping to jumpstart the channel and get things going. If you're not following me on BlueSky, I've left the link down below. I've basically left Twitter at this point. I'm only really posting on there for promoting stuff on there and to keep in touch with some of my friends. But if you're looking for the most up-to-date stuff, BlueSky is the place to be. And I think that's about it. Oh, join my Patreon. I left link down below, and if you don't feel comfortable about that, you can join my channel. The subscribe has a little join button, and you're supporting me in that way as well. Times are a little tough, if I'm being perfectly honest, getting a peek behind the curtain. Lost a really big job that I had, and so money's a little tight around here, so any help will help, but if you're in the same boat like me and you can't, totally understandable. So yeah, I'm going to leave that there. Thank you all so much for watching. As always, you guys are definitely the best. And until next time, notes out.